Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? Somebody needs an espresso? Come on, guys. So, first of all, welcome in the name of Gemalto SafeNet as well. Many thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. I'm really excited about this. Looking forward to spend the day today with you. My name is Thorsten Krüger, as the colleague said. I'm the sales director for what we call DACH, Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and the CEE region. That's why I'm here. Okay, let's go. So the year 2014 was a great year, was a successful year, wasn't it? Well, it was at least for me because I picked up 2 kilograms, so it must have been a good year. My suit is hardly fitting, so it was a good year. It was definitely a good year for the hackers out there. You can see there have been counted last year over 1,500 breaches around the world, which led to just over 1 billion data records exposed, which is a massive number. It's a record. And don't know what you think, but I absolutely believe this is just the peak of the iceberg, right? It's only the cases, the breaches which has been reported, and many countries there's no law forcing companies to report if they've been breached. So I personally believe the real number is probably double. But even if you don't believe me on that one, it's still the one which are all known. It's 5 per day, which is a massive number. Unfortunately, only 5% of those data which has been compromised was encrypted. The rest was clear text. That's interesting. Why do we see so many breaches around the world? The industry spent in 2014 $80 billion in security products. Unfortunately, not always SafeNet. Otherwise, I would have picked up 2 kilograms more and maybe wouldn't stand here. But some of them went to SafeNet. But generally, in the security industry, they spent $80 billion in 2014, which is again a record year. Still, we see more breaches than ever. So the numbers are not going down; the numbers are going up, despite the investments we are all doing, we are all working on in the industry. So why do we see so many breaches all of a sudden in the last years? Any idea? Well, I got an audience question. Maybe that helps us. Does anybody know what happened here? Can I get a hand sign? Anybody knows what happens here? Any guess? There's no wrong answer. No? I'll give you a hint. It's quite 50 years ago. Garrett, any idea? No? No? So it was at Sea Crossing in England. Yeah, it was a train rob, exactly. Gangsters stopped the mail train Glasgow, London. It was 50 years ago. There's a little movie. I think Phil Collins was involved in this. Not very, wasn't a really hit, but some people might have seen that. So what were they after? Why did they stop the train? Any guess? Money. Yeah, they want to get money. Yeah, they took out of this train, and it's 50 years ago, £3 billion worth of money. Well, quite successful breach, I would say. But why don't we see these things anymore? I mean, trains getting faster, but I don't think that's the reason, right? It was dangerous back in the time. It's still dangerous. So why is it not happening again? Why don't we see people robbing trains? There's no money in the train anymore, exactly. The data is the new mail train. Data is the new oil of the industry, right? So data is what we are trying to protect, to control as IT professionals, yeah? But it's tricky. It's not as easy as it's been years before, where data was just residing inside our company. Data is everywhere now, right? It's in the cloud. We're using Salesforce.com or any other tools. We use AWS. We got it on mobile phones, 60 gig, 120 gig on a mobile phone. That's crazy, yeah? and we produce a lot of data. It's getting more and more. In 2000, the world generated 2 exabytes on data in 2000, the whole year. It's quite a big number of data. But in 2014, we do this every day. And the trend is not stopping, right? Because storage is getting cheaper and cheaper every year. There's new technologies coming out. As I said, there's cloud services. So that makes our world, the world of the security officers in the companies, more and more difficult, right? Because we can't control this, we can't manage that old trend the way we did it in the last 5 years. But most of us, most of the people in the industry still do the same things as they have done 5 years ago. That's what we see also in the investments. Another question for you. If you, it did not happen, but let's assume you open up the newspaper in the morning and you see one of these big companies in Czech or somewhere else got hacked. Yeah, their data got exposed. Are you surprised? Can I get a hand sign from anybody who said, "Oh my God, I would never believe this company get breached"? Anybody? So maybe the people in the first row want to row back. There's no single hand up, right? So you're all not believing in the security products we're putting into the market. That's funny. That's really an interesting comment. I've used this slide now the 5th time. It was everywhere I had it up, was the same reaction actually. That's interesting. Let's keep that in mind while I go through my other slides. So what we are aiming for is what we believe, what the industry needs to do. We need to adapt what we know and how we implement information security. I mean, we clearly need perimeter security. I'm not saying the technologies we're implementing in the market are useless. We need perimeter security. But obviously, we all saw that the breach is getting more and more. We don't believe in this technology alone. It's we need to change. We cannot continue as we did in the industry in the last 5 years. The old approach, I put big walls around my data center and then all is good, doesn't work anymore. We need to think a step ahead. So we have a new mindset. Yeah, we need to change the way we protect our data, and we need to transform from breach prevention, from getting up in the morning and saying, what else can I do to secure my data? What else can I do to make sure nobody is getting into my company, stealing my data or reading it? Usually they don't steal, they just copy, right? The data is still there after the breach, but somebody else has it as well. So we need to change the mind and think about what can I do now to have a plan B, right? To still feel good if a breach happens. So we need to think and to move to breach acceptance. And you all do this, right? There was no hand sign when I asked about who would be surprised if a company would get hacked. So you already acknowledging we need to have technologies which kind of allow me a breach, or have a concept in place where I say, okay, I do everything, I'm getting not breached, but if there's a plan B. Because it's not the question if a company got hacked, it's more a question when it happens. We all need to think about the way it can happen, right? So what do we do then? Well, some of you might have seen this already. We, at Gemalto, we call it secure the breach. So making sure if a breach has happened, we're still secure. That's the concept of it. And how do we do that? So first of all, we need to look into the company and see where is my most important data, where are my valuable assets, what is the stuff I need to secure the first. Because there are some companies thinking, okay, I get it, I encrypt everything. That doesn't work, right? You need to think about what is the most important data in my company, or let's secure this as a first step. You can do step 2, 3 later on, but let's pick on this data. And this data can rely in applications while you use the data, and you say that's really a risky area in these applications, then you need to look to secure the data in applications. It can be in databases, it can be in storage networks, it could be on virtual machines and the cloud. So that's all points where you need to look for, is my sensitive data in these areas. And then the first step is to encrypt these data. There's technologies out there, obviously from us, but also from others. There's technologies out there to encrypt those information, independent where they rely. And I see many companies going in this direction. It's a big trend, especially after the Snowden affair. People investing more and more in encryption products, thinking about encryption services, which is great, which is, again, the first step, something we should do. But there's a second step to think about, which is where are your keys? Right? You can use services like Dropbox or any others, and they say, oh, you want to get your data encrypted to have more security? Oh yes, oh yes. I click on the menu, please encrypt. So what? Then it's encrypted, probably. But are you still sure nobody can get access to the data after you're just clicking in a GUI on encrypt the service from a service operator? If you don't have control about your keys, you haven't really won anything, right? And there are still many CISOs out there who have this checkbox thinking. I've been personally involved in some big projects where that's just say, if it's somehow encrypted, I'm good, you know? There's demands and there's the guidelines. We need to encrypt the data. It's encrypted. I don't care about the rest. But I say, don't spend the money on encryption if you can't do the second step and take care of your keys. It's like, you know, you got a house and you want to have a really solid front door. You need to spend, you know, I don't know, 5,000 euros to have a really solid front door, a good lock, and then you put the key under the mat because you don't care who's got the key. Why would you do that, right? You wouldn't do that. And that's the same in this concept. So second step, really important for a security strategy in addition to perimeter is this. And then the third step is to check who's got access to the data, who should be allowed to see the data in clear text, who's coming from where to my network, who's accessing data in the cloud, how do I control this? So access management, that's the third step. That's actually what the Gemalto SafeNet IDP does in a nutshell, right? Encrypting data, taking care of your keys, making sure the authentication is solid. You all know this guy. He's a free of charge marketing person for SafeNet. He volunteered for that. We're very happy about this. No, I think it was really a wake-up call for the industry, to be honest. No kidding. What happened after that Snowden affair? Really, people think different, which is good. They're really waking up. So, what does he say about encryption? He said encryption works. Encryption, professional implemented encryption, is one of the few things you can rely on. It's a statement from him personally. What does he mean with that? Why is encryption safe? I've stolen this slide, to be honest. I missed a bit. It's an interesting way of seeing if encryption is really solid or not. So I was looking just at an AES 128 key. Many products are using this, and we want to try to find out, can we brute force? Can we kill that encryption algorithm? What's needed for that, and how long will it take? I don't know if you got any guess how many months, years it will take. So if you calculate this, an AES 120A means 3.4 multiplied by 10. I don't know what that is in English. 10, we say high in German, 38. So it's quite a long number. Yeah. If you want to brute force the encryption, find out the key for that. Let's assume there's a supercomputer. There's rumor about the NSA will have a supercomputer going forward. Nobody has seen it. Nobody. I think it's not there, but probably it will be available somewhere. Who can test 100 billion keys in a second? Let's assume we have that, right? Let's assume we don't have one. Let's assume we have 100 of them. Okay, just to really. And then, if you brute force an encryption, you're trying out keys basically. You can be lucky and you found it in the first 5% of your trial. Or you can be unlucky and it's in the 99%, takes a bit longer, right? But let's assume we found the key in the first percent of the brute force of trying out key by phrase. Any guess how long it will take? You can take your calculator and find it out, but it's quite long numbers. It takes 1 million times the universe exists to get this encryption cracked with a brute force attack. So good luck with that. That's the reason hackers don't try to crack encryption. They don't try to crack the keys, right? They try to steal the keys to get to the encrypted data. They don't try to crack the encryption. There's no way. That's why American companies or the NSA are scared about encryption technology. So any attacks you will see to get to encrypted data is focused on the keys. So back to the point, the keys. That means if you using encryption technologies because you want to secure the data, you want to make sure data doesn't get stolen, doesn't get into wrong hands to the competition, and you're using encryption for this, well, a key which you use for encryption is just a data file as well. So you're just moving the problem from, okay, my data is encrypted, I'm safe, but I leave the key somewhere in software, somewhere on the server. You're just moving the point to the keys. It doesn't make sense to encrypt the data and not take care of the keys. You might know the example of the person in the Swiss banks who built this nice CD of data and sold it to the German government, of people who giving their banks to the money to the Swiss banks without paying tax for that, right? That's a nice example. The data might have been encrypted, I don't know, but definitely it had access to the key, right? So you could get it out in clear text. So keys need to be separated from the software, and this is something I really would like to push. Not only because we have products for this, because I really think the industry needs this. It needs to be separated, and we hear more about this products and what we can do in the afternoon about this. I just wanted to, highlight the reasons for this, really, because many people do database encryption. There are tools from Oracle, there are tools from Microsoft SQL. The encryption works well, but usually in many projects I see that the encryption key is still on the same database server, which is kind of funny, because the admin has still got access to the key. So that's interesting times. I believe interesting technologies as well. I hope you agree. And the same, I think, I know Gemalto thought back in the day. So that's the reason Gemalto looked at SafeNet, looked at their portfolio, at the market, and then clearly understand there's a big demand for the technologies we provide and we develop, and therefore they acquired us, and now we're two companies together, and really see many opportunities to work with you, to work in the market. So Gemalto is the leader now in digital security, and Anna spoke a bit about this, what that means. I would like also to have a quick look at the history to better understand what these companies are doing and where they came from. So Gemalto has been the name came from the merge of Axalto and Gemblu. This is quite a while back. It all started in 1988. You see the picture of the garage where Gemalto started, still exists. You can still visit that. It's not a museum. We're not famous enough, but you can still there. The name Gemalto came from the city where they started, where the garage was. It's called Gemalto. And that's how it started. It was built by some engineers, 88, who came from Thorsten Electronics. Almost at the same time, Schlumberger, so an oil company, started a division where they wanted to focus on these plastic cards, on these, it's not really smart cards, but it was going this direction. So they really started both roughly about the same time. And the first products from Schlumberger were these phone cards. Some of them who are in my age know them. Some of them might not. Where you go public phone and put your phone card and you could do some calls. And then the first SIM cards, which we put in the DNet and CNet telephones. This was all Schlumberger business. In 2003, then Schlumberger, the people in the smart card division had a spin-off in 2003 and founded Axalto. So that's how this name came. And then later on, Axalto and Gemalto, they all both said we're the marking leader in that space. And if you look at the area and they've been working on, you can understand the argument. But there were more and more vendors coming in that market. The market was really not that big. The players were all known, who were the customers, mobile carriers and so on. So it was really difficult times for both companies to develop the way they wanted to develop. They both wanted to add more services, more server products away from just the SIM cards, the models. But they struggled. In the daily business, they just mainly were successful in this area. So 2006, they merged, and this gave them enough capacity and a solid position in the market to then really start to develop more solutions around the SIM cards. And then there really, since 2006, many acquisitions in the market. I'm not saying all these vendor names you see there have been acquired. Sometimes they only acquired certain technologies from these vendors. But they went on and really built what the strategy was, adding more and more services by buying companies, developing new stuff. So there was one reason was going also into different regions where Gemalto wasn't placed. So this could be a reason for an acquisition as well. Sometimes they just couldn't, as an example, deliver products for passports, because certain countries only did allow this to a local vendor they control. So they just bought this vendor. So that's the way they really growed and delivered what the plan was. Recently they acquired the company Trüb in Switzerland, and obviously that's why I'm here, the company SafeNet, to go from edge technology, and I mentioned that, more to the core, so encrypting, securing data in the data center, which is a nice fit, a nice add-on to what they had before. But also with the division SafeNet, we call it SM, I'll come back to this later. Also they have these products for licensing software and software control. They also bought the company Centurion. Not sure if you heard about this. It's a Siemens spin-off, to get that as an example, into the machine-to-machine market. Right? If you're driving a modern Audi or BMW, you got an M2M model in that car, and that's communicating with BMW services, downloading music, new data for your GPS system, or allows you to browse, go to Google in the internet. So that's a model coming from M2M. So they really put two leaders in their area, SafeNet more on the core with encryption services, to one vendor, and it's a really interesting story, really great opportunity for us, and I'm sure for you as well. Anna mentioned some numbers. How are we doing on time? Okay. So we're really unique. I'm convinced from this. We got over 2 billion users. It's a massive number of customers we're using in different areas, and I give you a bit more details about this. We're now 14,000 employees worldwide, but I don't want to bore you with all the details. You can look it up later on. I think it's interesting to see in which areas we have customers and what we do with them, and we can talk a bit offline for some examples later on if you want. We have 500 million credit cards with Gemalto technology in the market. We have hundreds of mobile phone carriers, so 2 billion customers really. So everybody from you probably carries 1 or 2 products from Gemalto in your pocket without maybe not knowing, or not before, depending if you got a Gemalto history. Some examples, and also a reason why Gemalto as SafeNet are not so known in the market, right? Still people say Gemalto, never heard about. Unfortunately, we're changing this, but it takes some time. But one of the reasons is that we're usually in the background. The target of Gemalto is to enable partners to do business, and not to be in the forefront. So we could have, any T-Mobile SIM card in the phone, or Vodafone, or you name it. Many companies, of course, you could put a Gemalto name on this. Would be great branding, right? Everybody would know Gemalto all of a sudden. But that's not the idea. The idea is to allow these carriers to do their services and secure it with our products, and not being in the first line with our products. Another example is, do you know Limex or Limex? It's a special emergency watch where people wearing who work on an oil platform or somewhere in the desert, and you can push a button wherever you are in the world. It's a SIM card in it and other technology, and you will be connected to an operator who helps you out whatever you need in that position. And it's independent where you are in the world and at what time. The technology we provide on top of just the SIM is that you get connected to the right person around the world. I talked about the Internet of Things, which is the machine-to-machine, the M2M models falling into that area. So there's a lot of solutions out there in the market, which we have technologies involved without really being public on this. You don't see Gemalto products directly, but we're a bit behind supporting our customers. With the enterprise, that's the addition actually from the SafeNet portfolio now. So it's a really good add-on to all the other areas we're working in, like in the financial services, where we offer products for B2C services for e-banking and so on. A quick look in the organization. So the Gemalto's got three areas: the embedded, the government programs, and we belong to the platform and services. Below this, there's the IDP, and we kept the old name. I like that, SM, software monetization. It's always a good laugh in Germany. Which builds the IDSS group. So that's how we're implemented in the organization at Gemalto. And what's the vision? The vision is to get the IDSS group to 1 billion euros on revenue. Quite some way to go, but Gemalto has got overall a big growth plan where they want to be in the next couple of years. So one part also was the acquisition of SafeNet, because we're quite going well. To give you an idea about 2014, how SafeNet did, let's have a quick look back. What we had was, we had 3 things coming together, which was market relevance. There was never a better market for us. People needing encrypting, needing key management. This is, this were kind of alien, spooky area 5 years ago. Encryption, what are you doing? HSMs, what is that? Nowadays, it's getting more and more common. So the market is great for us. The sales coverage with our partners is great. We got a lot of knowledge out in the field. Plus, the products are mature. Some of them are around since far more than 10 years, right? So we're really mature products. And if this comes together, all the 3 things, independent of which vendor you're working on, you get some good numbers together. And that's what we seen last year, right? So we had a growth of 25% in the data protection. We had a growth of 14% overall in the platform and services. It's quite solid numbers. And if you look into the product areas, you see that e-banking, mobility growth 20%, cloud authentication 124%. We have now over 3 million users in the cloud using the services. The high-speed encryption 33%, crypto management 39%. I think this will go higher in the future. And corporate batch 22%, so quite solid numbers in our focus areas. And we kicked ass, as we say, as a service, right? Don't get me wrong. Gartner again announced that in the fourth time of the row, so it's 4 times in a row we've been the leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, top position here, which we're very proud of. Gemalto is also in the leaders quadrant, a bit more below on the left side, but also, and now we got the combination of both companies, which makes us even stronger in that area. So it's a really interesting fit. We did grow the ecosystems. You will hear a bit more about later on. We had in 2014, 14 more integrations with KeySecure, 50 with HSMs and so on. So really extend our ecosystem. In 2015, will that be much different? Well, I hope not in the revenue growth, but if I look out of the market, I had some German clippings. I apologize for this. Next time I will bring Czech clippings. This is the German intelligence service. The BND got hacked in the first quarter this year, and there were how many? There was quite big number of 3,500 agents have been exposed. So the clear name of them has been went out to the industry. Quite an unpleasant hack for this intelligence service. JP Morgan Chase lost the data. Actually, they didn't lost it, but somebody else has got it as well, of 83 million customers. I guess not a great position to be there as a CISO. The British Airways Executive Club had been hacked. Maybe you've seen this. This is all just from the first 3 months I put together. So these hacks definitely going on. The market, the industry, and the hacks haven't changed. No surprise, right? It doesn't go so quick. So it will continue probably as we have seen for 2014. That's another one here. I'm not saying Putin is involved in that, but I like the picture too, I must say. So Bundestag has been hacked in as well. It was really a massive problem, as you can imagine. So the market really doesn't change. We still need to think about plan B versus just the plan A we have implemented in the last years. So we're here. Oh yeah, this is the first one is mission. We're here today for you. I would love to hear more about integrations you would like us to focus on. Is there any integrations missing we should look at? Tell us about initiatives we can collaborate in the future, and ask us any question you have. What can we do to be successful together? I'm really looking forward for an interesting day with you. And with that, I thank you very much for listening. Thank you.